Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My name is Kaif Shakir and I am foundation level student at Rehan School Affiliate Campus Islamabad. Today I am doing my chat GPT and my topic is sorry. So let's start it. Hello chat GPT, can you listen me?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly, Kush. I'm here and ready to listen. So you're focusing on the topic of sorry. That's a really meaningful subject. What would you like to discuss or explore first?
Okay, my first question is that what does the word sorry truly mean?
That's a great starting point. So, sorry is essentially an expression of regret or remorse. It's a way of acknowledging that something you did or said had a negative impact on someone else. But beyond just the words, it's also tied to accountability and connection, right? So it can carry a lot of emotional weight.
My next question is that why do human apologize?
That's a really interesting question. So, we apologize for a few reasons. Sometimes it's to repair a relationship, sometimes it's to show empathy, and sometimes it's even to relieve our own guilt. Apologies kind of help us realign with our values and keep trust intact.
Okay, my next question is when did people first start saying sorry?
Ooh, that's a really fascinating question. I mean, formal apologies go back thousands of years. Ancient cultures like the Sumerians or Greeks use ritual apologies in public. But even in everyday life, people have probably been expressing regret for as long as language itself. So it's really deep history.
Is apologizing natural or learned?
That's a great point. So saying sorry is really a natural human behavior. We're wired for social connection, but the way we say it and the cultural norms behind it, that's definitely learned. Different societies shape how and when people apologize.
Why do children struggle to apologize?
Yeah, that's really common. Kids often struggle because they might not fully understand the impact of their actions yet, or they might feel vulnerable admitting fault. Plus, they're still learning about empathy and how to regulate their emotions, so apologies can feel really big or scary for them.
My next question is that can an apology heal emotional pain?
Absolutely, it can. An apology can be really powerful because it shows someone you see their pain, you take responsibility, and it can create a sense of being heard and even validated. So it doesn't erase the pain, but it can definitely help in the healing process.
My next question is that why do some people never say sorry?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Sometimes people avoid saying sorry because they feel it's a sign of weakness, or maybe they're afraid of being judged, or they just don't want to admit fault. And sometimes they just don't fully understand how serious their actions were.
Can body language reveal a real apology?
Oh, definitely. Body language can say a lot. Things like eye contact, a soft tone, a slight bow, or a pause, those can all signal genuine remorse. So when words and body language align, the apology tends to feel more real.
Why do people feel lighter after apologizing?
Yeah, that's a really relatable feeling. I think it's because once you apologize, you're releasing that guilt or that weight you were carrying. It's almost like a mental or emotional reset so you can start fresh.
Is apologizing a sign of weakness or strength?
Ooh, that's a really powerful question. I think in truth, a genuine apology is a sign of strength. It takes a lot of courage to admit when you're wrong, to take responsibility, and to put yourself out there. So it's really a brave act, even if it doesn't always feel like it.
Why do some people over apologize?
Yeah, that happens a lot. Sometimes people over apologize because they're anxious or they feel insecure, or maybe they grew up in an environment where they had to constantly say sorry. So even when it's not needed, they just kind of default to it out of habit or fear.
Which countries apologize the most?
So there's no definitive global ranking of which country apologizes the most, but there are some clues. For example, studies suggest that people in Japan apologize very frequently, especially in formal public contexts. Meanwhile, in Canada, there's an informal estimate that people say sorry about 9 times a day. Overall, cultural context shapes how often and when people apologize, so there's no single most apologetic country.
Can saying sorry become a habit?
Yeah, it absolutely can. If someone says sorry all the time without really changing their behavior, it can start to feel empty or even disingenuous. So when sorry becomes just a habit, it can lose that real healing power and just feel kind of repetitive or even manipulative. So it's important to pair it with action.
Why do guilty people avoid eye contact?
Yeah, that's really common. When people feel guilty, they often avoid eye contact because it makes them feel exposed or vulnerable. Eye contact can feel too intimate when they're feeling that shame, so they tend to look away or glance down.
What happens in the brain during an apology?
Ooh, that's a really interesting one. So, when we apologize, areas of the brain tied to empathy, like the insula and the anterior cingulate cortex, kind of light up. At the same time, we often see reduced activity in stress related areas. So, apologizing can actually help calm the brain and sort of rebalance your emotional state.
Why does forgiveness often follow apology?
Yeah, that's a really natural progression. Once an apology is offered, it kind of opens the door for the other person to process their feelings. And forgiveness doesn't necessarily happen immediately, but the apology is often the first step. It shows a willingness to repair the relationship, and that can really create space for forgiveness to grow.
Can animals show apology like behavior?
Yeah, they actually can in their own way. For example, some animals, like dogs, will approach with a submissive posture, kind of like a I'm sorry gesture. Primates sometimes reconcile with grooming or offering food. So while it's not identical to human apology, they do have these forms of reconnection and repair.
What is the psychology behind guilt?
Yeah, so guilt is really tied to our sense of self and morality. Basically, when we feel guilt, it means we recognize that we violated some personal or societal standard. It activates areas of the brain related to empathy and self reflection, and it kind of pushes us to want to make things right.
Can a fake apology hurt more?
Yeah, it really can. When an apology feels fake or insincere, it often makes the hurt worse because it can feel like your feelings aren't being taken seriously. So, a well meaning but empty apology can actually deepen the resentment or mistrust instead of healing it.
Why do public figures apologize publicly?
Yeah, that's a great point. Public figures often apologize publicly because it's about accountability. They're addressing a wide audience, showing responsibility, and trying to repair trust. It also helps them reach people they may have impacted and set a standard for taking things seriously.
Should actions matter more than words?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, words are important because they set the intention, but actions really show the follow through. People tend to trust what you do more than just what you say. So without action, an apology can fall flat.
Why do some apologize sound robotic?
Yeah, that happens a lot actually. Sometimes people rehearse an apology or just rush through it, so it sounds really scripted or impersonal. And when it lacks that emotional authenticity, it just feels flat or robotic, like it's just a formula they're repeating.
Okay, my next question is that did King R. Rule apologize in history?
Yeah, absolutely. Throughout history, many kings and rulers have issued formal apologies, often after wars, injustices, or colonization. For example, Japan apologized after World War II, and the British monarchy has issued apologies for colonial wrongs. So it's a
What role
political.
does religion play in apology?
Yeah, religion often plays a huge role because in many faiths, apology is tied to repentance, atonement, and moral responsibility. Religious teachings often encourage.
Okay, so viewer, this is my chat GPT. Hope so you like it. Meet it in the next video. Pakistan Zindabad Khuda Hafiz.